Princess Samira was 19 when her father told her she would marry a man she had never met. The message came through servants, not from the king himself. That was how important it was considered, too small a matter to speak of directly, too inevitable to argue against. The man was a prince from the northern plains, wealthy and well-armed, with an army large enough to discourage rebellion along the border. The match would secure peace. That was all anyone cared about. Samira listened in silence as the maid spoke. When the woman finished, Samira asked only one question. "What if I refuse?" The maid went pale. Refusal was not something a princess did. Not in this kingdom, where daughters were raised as bargaining chips and dressed like treasures meant to be displayed, not owned. Samira had always known this, but knowing something and accepting it were different things. She had seen the northern prince once, from a distance, during a feast years earlier. He had laughed too loudly, touched servants too freely, and spoken of war the way other men spoke of sport. She remembered thinking that if she ever belonged to a man like that, she would disappear. So when her father finally summoned her, Samira stood straight and told him no. King Rashid stared at her as if she had spoken in another language. "This marriage protects the kingdom," he said. "It protects you." "I don't need protection," Samira replied. "I need choice." The word hung in the air like an insult. Her father's voice hardened. "You will do your duty." Samira felt fear then, real fear, but it did not move her. "I won't," she said. "If you force me, you will lose me anyway." King Rashid dismissed the court and sat in silence for a long time. When he finally spoke again, it was not as her father. "At dawn," he said, "you will be escorted beyond the southern border. You will take water, a blade, and nothing more. If you survive, you survive. If you do not, the kingdom will mourn you. Exile." It was a cleaner punishment than execution. No blood on the throne room floor. No witnesses to regret. Samira bowed, because she had been taught how to lose with grace. She returned to her chambers, packed what little she was allowed, and spent the night awake, listening to the palace breathe around her. At dawn, the guards took her to the last stone marker at the edge of the desert. They did not look at her when they turned back. The desert did not welcome Samira. It burned her feet through her boots and split her lips within hours. The sun felt close enough to touch. Her water ran low faster than she expected. By the third day, she was dizzy and moving only because stopping meant dying. On the fourth day, she collapsed. She woke to the sound of voices she did not understand. A ring of strangers stood over her, men and women dressed in layered cloth, their faces darkened by sun and wind. One of them nudged her back with his foot. "She's dead," someone said. Samira forced herself to sit up. "I'm not," she said hoarsely. They laughed, surprised. "Then you're stubborn," said the tallest among them, a man with scars along his arms. "That might save you." They did not ask her name. Names mattered less than survival out here. They gave her water slowly, painfully so, and brought her with them across the dunes. This was the Red Dune clan, though Samira would not learn the name for weeks. They were raiders to the kingdom, traders to some, ghosts to others. They lived by rules older than her father's crown. She earned her place the hard way. No one cared that she had once slept on silk sheets. She learned to ride until her legs bled. She learned to fight with curved blades and short spears, to listen for the sound of shifting sand that meant danger, to sleep lightly and wake faster. When they asked her why she had been cast out, she told the truth. I refused to be owned. That answer followed her. Years passed. The desert stripped Samara down to what she was underneath the title. It burned weakness away. It taught her patience, and when patience failed, brutality. She learned when to speak and when to stay silent. She learned how leaders were followed, not because of blood, but because of trust. She stopped thinking of herself as a princess. By the 5th year, she was leading raids. By the 6th, clans beyond the Red Dunes knew her name. She spoke their languages. She settled disputes. She fought beside them, not above them. She never spoke of returning. But the desert remembered everything. Back in the capital, things fell apart slowly, then all at once. The northern prince proved cruel. His alliance came with demands: gold, land, soldiers. When King Rashid resisted, the peace cracked. Taxes rose. Soldiers filled the streets. People disappeared. Stories spread of a desert leader gathering strength beyond the southern border. A woman. A warrior. Someone who spoke like royalty but lived like sand. King Rashid dismissed the rumors. Until the banners appeared. They came at dawn, when the city was least ready. Red cloth marked with symbols no one recognized. Drums rolled across the plain. Riders filled the horizon. At their head rode Samira. She did not wear a crown. She wore desert armor, scarred and worn, her face lined by sun and time. But when the gates opened, first open, then abandoned, the people knew her. Some fell to their knees. Others cried out her name. The palace guards did not fight long. Samira walked into the throne room without haste. Her father stood waiting, older than she remembered, smaller somehow. She set her sword on the floor between them. You sent me away to preserve your power, she said. I came back to end it. King Rashid sank into his chair. I was wrong, he said quietly. Yes, Samira replied. You were. She did not kill him. That was the choice that surprised everyone. Instead, she stripped the throne of its false promises. She opened the prisons. She broke the marriage contracts that bound children to futures chosen for them. She gave land to the desert tribes and seats in council to people who had never been allowed to speak. Some nobles resisted. They did not resist long. Samira ruled differently than she had been raised to rule. She listened more than she commanded. She remembered hunger. She remembered exile. She remembered what it meant to be powerless. At dusk, she often stood on the palace balcony and looked south, where the desert met the sky. She did not regret her choice. She had lost a kingdom once. She came back knowing how to build one that could not exile its daughters again.